Well, it's interesting listening, especially to what Ken said about my own experience in all three areas that I think have been touched upon by this scandal. And the answer to me is probably summed up in one word, which is consequences. The software guys who knew that it was a bag of rats didn't speak out, because the consequences of them didn't come from the profession; it came from their employer. The consequence was, if you don't like it, you can lump it and you can leave it. And I think that also reflects in the post office, which I worked in for a number of years, and remember the sort of, I joined when it was a monopoly. Well, it was a government department. I stayed with it for a bit on the postal side, would you believe? And one of the things they put us through as a trainee was you did the counter course. And I think people don't realise how difficult it is to balance that till every day, even before computers. So am I surprised that there are problems? It's complicated. But the consequences in the post office were, if you spoke out, you'd signed the Official Secrets. I signed the Official Secrets Act when I joined. And I think that logic pervaded. And it always amazed me, because I moved to telecoms, that the management attitudes of the 1970s and 1960s have pervaded for so long. And you see that reading Richard's book, in the way in which the marzipan layer, as we used to call it, didn't reflect information upwards. Management had little experience, top management had little experience. They hadn't done the counter course. It was 2 years after I joined. And I couldn't go to headquarters until I'd spent 2 years in the field. People went straight into headquarters. They didn't understand the coalface. I think as far as the consequences for the politicians, of course, there was a failure. They didn't really mind. It's personal consequences. The people who paid most for this, of course, were the sub-postmasters and sub-postmistresses, who actually were, in my time, were always regarded as shifty, of people who you couldn't trust. And I think the attitude, therefore, swung towards these people are at fault, and the consequences were dire on those people. So I think, coming back perhaps to Ken's point, in terms of developing the IT professional standards, there need to be consequences, struck off. We have to move towards this. And touching on the government thing, and their attitude towards this, because there was a political imperative, both in terms of keeping friendly with Fujitsu, but also meeting the requirements, which was then dropped and working with something of this kind, all built on a software system that was built on another software system, which I've seen done and realised how difficult that is. I mean, one patch always generated the need for 3 others. So I think there's a major job to be done here in our own profession. And I think the world needs to learn from ossified management structures, which care more, I think, for form rather than the people who work for them.